Welcome to TV3. On this week's episode, we'll be focusing on an Archer, K-pop, the return of X, and of course, rounding out by answering some of your comments and questions in the feedback section. Now, unfortunately, there is not going to be a new purchases section on this week's episode, simply because all my packages are stuck in customs. Yay, Canada Post, you never let me down. So in place of that, I'm just going to do an extended comments and feedback section, so hopefully you guys find plenty of enjoyment in that as well. Alright, on to the news, and first up we have a teaser from Perfect Effect, and they are teasing that they are going to be producing a third-party Transmetal 2 Megatron from Beast Wars. That's right, this is the Dragon Megatron, the Red Megatron, the final all-powerful version of Megatron after he stole G1 Megatron's spark and shoved it into his own body because he saw Optimus Primal do that and was like, yo bro, I can do that too, I can become equally as awesome, and that's how he gained this form. I mean, this is not really too surprising. Perfect Effect recently released their Optimal Optimus, and I believe they also have a recolor of it as the... oh, I forget the name, but it's the one they did for Beast Machines. In any case, a matching Megatron was soon to follow. Perfect Effect have merely just confirmed that it's happening, and I am just as hyped as every other Beast Wars fan out there because I love to see nothing more than Beast Wars support, whether it be official or unofficial. Next up is a model kit announcement from Kotobukiya, and that is in their Megami Device series of toys, and this is the Asura Archer. Now, to be honest, I know nothing of the Megami Device toy line. However, I have been looking at it from afar, and I do think there's some pretty cool things they're putting out. However, this particular Archer is the one that's caught my eye ever since it was revealed at Wonderfest last month, and I just think it's such a cool design. I love the color scheme, of course. Red and white is always awesome. The blonde girl is cool, and I love the weapon that they chose, of course, you know, the bow and arrow. I like the armor design, and I love how the bow and the arrow can become a giant sword. There's nothing cooler than that. You can also strip her of all her armor and just have her in a bare skin suit, and then her ribbon turns into like bunny ear motif, which is not really to my liking, but hey, it's a gimmick that is included with this toy line. In any case, I am super interested in this kit. It's going to be retailing for about 5,000 yen, so a bit pricey for what you get, but then again, it's Kotobukiya. They are a bit on the pricier side when it comes to model kits, and that's to be expected. I can't wait to see how it turns out when it gets released over in January. Moving on, we have the next addition into Mezco's 1/12 collective series of action figures, and they are doing Spider-Man, or more specifically, the Spider-Man Homecoming version of Peter Parker. So this, of course, is what you'd expect from 1/12 mixed media, very articulated body, and tons of accessories. I specifically like the webbed wings that they've included. I think this toy looks really good. But at the same time, and I can't really put my finger on it, something about it just looks off. Again, I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't seem as stunning as I would say other releases in the 1/12 series. There's just something about this that rubs me the wrong way, like something's just a little bit off, but I couldn't tell you what it is. In any sense, I do think it's going to be a good action figure. It will retail for the standard price of about $80 to $90, and I look forward to seeing how people receive this in hand. I have yet to decide if I want to pick up a Homecoming Spider-Man because I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, but nevertheless, Spider-Man is a cool superhero, and I'm sure this is going to be a very popular figure. Alright, so now I don't really talk about 1/6 figures because it's not really my wheelhouse, so whenever I bring one up, it's because I think it's super cool and it's worth mentioning, and you can bet this next figure is worth mentioning because Enterbay have announced that they are doing a 1/6 scale collectible of Tae Yang. Tae Yang from the boy band group Big Bang. Now this is Tae Yang as he appeared in the music video Bang Bang Bang, and I think it looks stunning. They got his abs all right. They even got his lip-biting face amazingly well done, and the clothes look pretty cool too. I think this figure looked great, and if you're a Tae Yang fan, I don't know how you're not gonna get this thing. That said, I will say, being a Tae Yang fan, I liked his look more circa maybe 2011 when he was rocking that mohawk. Specifically, the way he looked when the video for Wedding Dress came out. That was my favorite look for Tae Yang. If they ever did that version of him, you could bet I would buy it instantly. Like, instantly. I know you all out there love Tae Yang too, so don't deny it. You love him. We all love him. Tae Yang's a god. Alright, let's move on. Alright, let's round out the news with some Gundam announcements, and I'm pretty happy because all the Gundam announcements this week are Build Fighters related, and they come care of the Gundam base, which is opening very soon, if not open today by the time you're seeing this. First up, we got a new Wing Gundam Fenice Renacita. Now, to be honest, this isn't actually a new version of the Fenice. Instead, it just has a new backpack. And the backpack, I believe, becomes a motorcycle. So that's pretty neat. I mean, this is a very popular kit to begin with. Now you change out the wings for a cool motorcycle. What's there not to love? Will I buy it again? You bet I will. I think that's super cool. Next up, they have the Shuridium Gundam Saga. Is that how you say it? Shuridium? Yeah, Shuridium Gundam Saga type Gundam build fighters. Now this Gundam looks super cool. Number one thing I love about this Gundam, he has knee guns. More robots need knee guns. I mean, I love foot guns, I like knee guns, gun butts also pretty cool, but yeah, this thing looks cool. I think it's going to be a hot seller, everyone will love it. Now the next Gundam is the one that caught my attention, and I don't actually know what the full name is, but it is without doubt the Gundam X Mao. It has returned, and it seems like it's a brand new kit, or at least it uses mostly new parts. I don't really know what it's going to do, but I was a big fan of the X-Mao, especially that single cannon, and when he used it as a sword in the Season 1 of Build Fighters, that was just so cool. Or the episode where they did the mental battle with Sei Iori, one of the best episodes in the show. So I love the Gundam X-Mao, and I'm so glad to see it return instead of the Crossbone X. So yeah, I'm happy to see this. I can't wait to see what the full gimmicks are for it, and I can't wait to get one in hand. Alright, finally, the last one of the Build Fighters announcement was, hey, guess what? They're doing another Fumina. Can you believe it? And this one has probably the least amount of changes I've seen to it. In fact, this is just Super Fumina Gundam base version, and all they've done is given her a hat and painted her color scheme to match the uniform of the Gundam base employees. That's it. And I think it's cool. I mean, you give Fumina a hat, what's there not to love? I love it, you love it, we all love it, and as Gundam fans, we think it's the coolest. Right? Awesome. I'm glad you're all with me. Cool. Alright then, like I said, this week we're doing an extended comments section, so I'm going to try and go through as many as I can in the allotted time. Here we go. First one is from Greystorm301. Who is your favorite servant from the Fate series? My favorite servant is probably pretty easy to figure out. It is none other than Saber, because hey, I love knights, especially the whole King Arthur, medieval, culture type stuff. I'm always into that. She's hot. And, well, she's number one badass. I mean, what's there not to love about Saber? Arik Abdullah asks, what are your opinions on the idea of a prequel to Iron-Blooded Orphans that focuses on the struggles of different pilots during the Calamity War? This is a great question. I would love, as much as I fell off of Iron-Blooded Orphans, I would really be interested to see a complete prequel that was set within the Calamity War. I don't know if I necessarily need to see the struggles of the pilots. Instead, I don't even know if I need to see the politics that surround it. All I need to see is cool robot battles and what the outcome was and why, and just a bit more story and lore. So yeah, I would love to see a prequel on Iron-Blooded Orphans, specifically the Calamity War. I think that would be really cool, and honestly, I don't think I'd be very surprised if Bandai announced later this year that, hey, the next anime OVA is a prequel called The Calamity War. Murakumo Unit wants to know, can you show us a quick stability check on one of your oldest RG Gundams and see how it withstood the test of time? Sure, I think I could do that. Now, let's see. What's the oldest one I have? I know. RG Exia. Let's check in with that. Alright, so here is the real grade Exia that I built, I don't know how many years ago. But anyways, as you can see, it's still pretty solid in terms of its joint quality. Nothing is really droopy. It holds any positions. Now I do have it on a stand. The legs were pretty tough to begin with, so I never had a problem there. The arms with the weapons on them, they still seem to work pretty well. And the joints work. So in terms of my real grades going floppy, no, mine generally still stay the same. I mean, they've been like this since day one. I will say that I have barely touched this thing ever since I made the video for it, and I did top coat it, so that could contribute to a lot of the stiffness of the joints. So this isn't just bare plastic you're seeing in front of you. Remember, this does have a full top coat on it. But otherwise, yeah, as long as you prepare it and you set it aside, the joint should stay relatively stiff and tight throughout. Hopefully this helps. Kazuki Soji asks, are metal builds fun to pose, play with? How are the joints after a while? Also, what are your thoughts on the metal robot Damashi 00 Riser? Metal builds are definitely fun to pose, and they're fun to see how they work. In terms of actually playing with them, like going bang, bang, clang, clang, they're not that much fun just because you're always worried that you're going to scratch the paint and whatnot. So in terms of actually playing with them, they're not that much fun to play with. They're no more fun to play with than an actual fully painted model kit. But they are definitely fun to pose and seeing how all the engineering gimmicks work. As for the Metal Build 00 Riser, I think that it's super neat. It's not something that I'm particularly interested in, mostly because I'm not a fan of that suit. If they did like a Metal Damashi Exia, I'd totally be into it, but the Riser, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a good toy. It's just not something that I'm particularly into. Glenn asks, what's your opinion on the Chogokin Toy Story? I think the Chogokin Toy Story is super cool. Like, what an original idea, especially with the Buzz Lightyear add-on. I think that is a cool toy, and if I had more disposable income, you can bet that's one of the things that I would buy. Unfortunately, I don't have that much money, so I can't buy it, but it's something that I'll definitely admire from afar. Red Gaddy asks, what are your thoughts on the new Kamen Rider build, and are you getting the SH Figuarts Justice League figures? I think Kamen Rider build from the first promo image, it seems really cool. He strikes me as like, a Neo Kamen Rider double, Neo Heisei Kamen Rider double. I mean, he seems to be like, oh, Double was fun. It's been, you know what? It's been almost 10 years since Double was around, and I'm sure we could rehash that gimmick and give it a tweak or two. So that's what build looks like to me. As for SH Figuarts Justice League figures, definitely not for me. I think if I'm going to get Justice League stuff, it's going to be Mezco's 1/12 Collective, simply because I have the Armored Batman and I have the Superman already. And when they revealed their Wonder Woman, I thought it looked stunning, so I'm just probably going to go with those. Jack Porter wants to know, who is your favorite Macross idol from any series, and have you been playing the new Uta Macross smartphone The Culture rhythm game? My favorite idol has to be Cheryl from Macross F. I love Cheryl because Cheryl, on one hand, she was like god tier idol, and on the other hand, she was also just a badass. Like she did stuff, whereas other idols kind of just sat back idly and cried for a bit. Cheryl always got out there ahead of the game, and you know, she never just sat around waiting for things to happen. I think that's why I like Cheryl. But right up there with Cheryl is Minmay. I know a lot of fans hate Minmay, but I love Minmay. Minmay was always in it for herself. She was in it to win it, and she totally did that. So, I mean, she's also the original Macross idol. How can you not love her? Especially when she had that China dress on, and she's saying her boyfriend was a pilot. I mean, come on. Minmay's so cool. The smartphone game. No. That game looks like trash. Raph the Salt Boy asks, hey, Type V3, what was the most boring gunpla you ever built and played with? For me, it was the HG Exia Gundam. The most boring Gundam that I've ever built. I suppose the most recent one that comes to mind is the 1/100 Full Mechanics Gundam Bale, but to be honest, that actually would have been a pretty good kit had I not built so many Full Mechanics kits before it. So in that sense, I don't think I'd count that. I think the most boring kit for me is probably from Build Fighters, and it is the high-grade Leopard Da Vinci. And I think I would say that just because, A, the design is really boring. It doesn't do anything spectacular in terms of its engineering. And a lot of the fun about that kit is actually within its weapons. And I've always found that model kits that rely more on its weapon content are just more boring to me. Because, I don't know about you guys, but I think building out the weapons to a Gundam is just mind-numbing. It is so tedious, and it's nothing interesting ever happens when you're building weapons, especially at the high grade scale, and I hate doing it. And so when it came to that kit, which was basically a stock boring robot plus a billion weapons, I found that whole thing to be boring. So yeah, I would say Leopard Da Vinci is the most boring kit I've built to date. Or I could just take the easy way out and tell you that anything that says SD on the box is the most boring thing I've ever built, but I won't say that because that's certainly not true. Alright, and finally from Nell Leba, what's your dream Gundam Build Fighters Battlelog matchup and what suits would they use? Now that's a great question. What would be my dream Battlelog matchup? I think, you know what, it's actually pretty easy. It would be Amuro, you know, our original homeboy, our original new type, and he would be piloting the Unicorn Gundam. Full armor with the green frame, alright? The most OP version of the Unicorn. His opponent would be the Tryon 3, piloted by Domon Kashu. And the reason I picked these matches up, or this matchup, is it's themed. It's basically, on one hand, we have generally the heart and soul of Gundam. Everything that makes Gundam popular. The Universal Century at its peak, you know. Our main man Amuro, and arguably the most popular Gundam suit as of right now. And the only reason I say that is because, remember, they ripped down that 1-to-1 Granddaddy Gundam and put up a Unicorn in its place. So don't argue with me there. The Unicorn is probably the most popular Gundam right now. So yes, the heart and soul of UC Gundam versus everything that the general Gundam community hates. Build Fighters and G Gundam. Now, I think we all know what side I would be rooting for, and if you don't know, it's the one with the lion on the chest and the heart, the King of Hearts. So that's who I'd be rooting for, because I would love nothing more than to see the power of G Gundam and Build Fighters shit all over UC. And there you have it, another episode of TV3 over and done with. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, if you guys have a dream Gundam Battlelog matchup, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I always love reading why A should fight B or why C should win, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one who loves reading how ridiculous they can be. In any case, next week, there is no episode of TV3, but I do return with Toy Talk with my friends Meads, Peter, and Gabe, so I hope you guys look forward to that. If not, see you in 2 weeks from now. Bye-bye.